welcome to Yoga with Christiane. That's me. I'm here in Anchorage, Alaska, and set up a yoga practice for us today that involves stimulating some of our nerves, while at the same time calming our general nervous system. So the nerves I'm focusing on today include the sciatic nerve, the femoral nerve, and the median nerves. So the sciatic nerve is frequently something that causes discomfort down the lower back, hip, or down the back of the leg area. Some people feel it in their knees, all the way down to their feet even. The femoral nerve runs through the front of the hips, and the median nerves runs out through our wrists, through our arms and our wrists, and is a nerve that sometimes acts up and bothers us. A lot of our nerves are a little frayed lately, so this practice is intended to help us soothe our nerves. And at the same time, if they are holding tense, to help them stimulate to release some of that tension so that we feel better. For tonight's practice, we're going to use a couple of blocks. I happen to have these foam yoga blocks. Boxes, books, boxed wine, small stools, anything, paint can or number 10 can of, vegetables, tomatoes, something like that. Those things would work as well. We're also going to use a blanket or two toward the end, and possibly another couple of props, which I'll mention a bit later. So let's start in our comfortable seated position. I'm going to scoot on back so you can see all of me. So I'm just seated here on the floor. Crisscross applesauce is comfortable for my body. If it's not for you, you can choose any position that works better for you. Anything where we can grow our spine up tall and where our pelvis can find a neutral tilt. So we're not hunched back too much, rounding the back, but we're just able to have our sacrum have a nice angle to it, so our spine can grow up tall from there. We can lift the crown of the head up toward the sky. Notice too, if you're seated in a crisscross applesauce, if your knees are much higher than your hips, it may suggest that it would be helpful to sit on a cushion or a lift underneath your hips, just to help the pelvis find a little bit more of that neutral tilt. So we'll sit here, we'll sit tall, we'll take a breath and settle into our place. And then we'll raise our hands up in front of us to interlace fingers, or turn our palms forward. Extend those hands away from the heart. Open the thumbs toward the ground, the pinkies back toward the nose, nice broad palms. Check in with your shoulders, soften the elbows, and with your next in-breath, lift those elbows up into the air. And if it helps your shoulders or your wrists somehow to bend those elbows, feel free to do that. If not, stretch long and tall. Palms are facing up toward the sky. Thumbs are broadening away from the pinkies. We'll have another breath here. Exhaling, we'll separate our hands out to T-shaped arms, roll our palms up to face the sky, and continue to breathe as we hold up the air, expanding from our chest through our pinkies, from our spine through our thumbs. Open to all that our practice may bring to the surface today. We'll have another breath. We'll exhale, land those hands down. Let's roll our shoulders up toward our ears, back and down. We'll begin with a little shoulder arm movements. Let's bring our fingers together, interlace them in front of us, and draw figure eights or infinity symbols in the air with our knuckles. So flipping them around one way and then the other, rolling through the wrists, getting a little movement in the elbows and shoulders as well. Then we'll reverse the direction. Alrighty, we'll release that to center. Let's bring our right hand to the right shoulder, so its own shoulder. We'll point that elbow forward, then we'll open it up to the side, draw it down, and then forward, side, and down. We're going to keep circling in this direction. Make the circles as big or as little as your right shoulder appreciates. So if you prefer to keep your elbow low and those circles small, that's fine. Just find the range of motion that is comfortable for you today. If you want to explore that range of motion a bit more, if it feels good, then keep moving a little bigger, maybe spiraling that circle larger and larger, even feeling the ribs on this side. Fan out as you lift up, lengthening through the waist, curving down, drawing those circles nice and big. And now next time our elbow's pointed toward the side, we'll pause there. We'll turn to point that elbow behind us, and then we'll uncurl our hand like someone's about to hand us a sandwich. We'll hold our palm out. We'll expand from the chest, through the pinkies, through all the fingers. We'll have a breath or two here. One more breath in. And as we exhale, we'll swing that hand around to land on our lap. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So left elbow comes forward as we put the left hand on its own shoulder. Forward and then out to the side and then down. So we bring it forward, side, and down. Again, explore the range of motion that is comfortable for you today. If it wants to be a smaller circle, that's fine. If you'd like to explore larger and larger circles, allow it to spiral out. Keep going. Explore ever more. Maybe even lengthen up high and reach on down, finding that movement throughout the whole rib cage. Do a couple more circles here. And then next time our elbow's pointing out to the side, we'll pause there. We'll sit tall. We'll turn to point that elbow behind us. And then we'll uncurl that hand like someone's about to slip a couple of pieces of chocolate or cookies in our hand. Our favorite kind. We'll have another few breaths while we expand through our chest, all the way out to those fingers. After our next breath in, we'll exhale and swing that hand back to our lap. Okay. So for this next move, let's put our right hand onto the ground at our side. We're going to lift our left arm up into the air and lean over this way, bending that right elbow, allowing the right shoulder to drop down away from the right ear. Lengthening from the left hip through that left hand. Again, if your shoulder doesn't like it, bend the elbow. Just move the armpit away from the hip. Whether your elbow is bent or your arm is long, we're going to keep the body in this position, but turn the left palm skyward. Arc that arm over until it's reaching away, pointing those fingers far away from the left ear. Then we'll turn the left palm upward, arc that arm up, and as it reaches up, let's turn the nose to greet the arm. And we'll turn that palm again. The arm arcs over, we turn the gaze down toward the right. So as we lift up, the gaze comes to center or even toward the left. And as the arm sweeps down, we sweep our gaze down and to the right. We'll do 3 more pairs of these. Breathing in as we lift up and turn up. Breathing out as we sweep down. And then we'll do our last one here. Inhaling and lifting up. Exhaling, sweeping down. We'll just point and stretch those fingers far away as we move from the left ear all the way down the left side of the neck and out that hand. Then we'll release that. Sit tall. Just feel the difference between the right side and the left. See, between the side that just worked and the one that was supporting. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. If your legs are crossed, you might want to consider putting the other foot in front. It might feel really weird, but we'll see how it goes. Left foot off, left hand off on the side. We'll make sure that left shoulder isn't too tight up by the ear, but is given some space to the ear. We'll reach that right arm up. We'll have a few breaths while we lengthen from the right hip to the right hand. Now we'll breathe in. And as we breathe out, we'll sweep that palm, pointing the right fingers away from us. Gaze is down. Then we'll turn that right palm, lift that arm up, turn the gaze to meet the arm. Again, the palm begins or initiates the move as the palm turns to face the direction it's going. Inhaling as we lift the arm, lift the gaze. Exhaling as we sweep the arm down, turning the gaze down. We'll do another couple pairs of these. Breathing in as we lift up. And breathing out as we lower down. And then just for a breath, let's really stretch those right fingers, that right hand away from the right ear. And then we'll release. Find our way back to our lap. So we're going to transition up to our feet. I am going to clear off the mat and I'll change my camera angle and then I'll meet you on our feet. Oh, that's a little better. We'll find our Tadasana standing with our feet underneath us, a few inches of space between our feet to be stable. We'll rock our weight to the center of the arches, not too much on the heels, not too much on the toes. In fact, let's lift and spread all of our toes out and then press them down onto the mat with purpose. We'll have that energy rise up from the earth through our leg bones. The tops of our thigh bones shift toward each other to help stabilize the hips. We lift our heart center away from the belly. We broaden and relax the shoulders. For our next inhalation, let's turn our palms forward. Exhale. Let those hands relax and hang where they'd like to be. As we lengthen the neck, maybe by tucking in the jaw a little bit, we lift the top of our head up toward the sky. Tadasana, mountain pose. We'll inhale, circle our hands up overhead. Exhale them down to the heart center. Anjali Mudra, palms together. We'll do that 2 more times. Breathing in as we circle. Breathing out as our hands come down to the heart center. If you prefer to keep your hands lower to help your shoulders out, that's fine. Just keep those elbows bent maybe. Lower it down to the heart center. We'll pause here for a few breaths just to feel that solid mountain sensation of our pose. Immobile, brave, standing tall. One more breath in here. Then we'll release our hands and we'll step a little wider. We'll do a wide-legged twist. So we'll reach one heel away from the ground. We'll turn the opposite direction and reach that same hand up into the air, maybe reaching toward the top of the wall behind us. Then we'll bring that side down. Do the same thing with the other side. Heel lifts, body turns away, hand reaches. So we'll just keep going from side to side, nice and slow, as we notice what parts of our body are feeling this stretch, are needing this stretch, and what some parts of our body are just hanging out, not affected by this move. Follow your breath, perhaps exhaling as you come down into center, inhaling as you reach up and out. We'll do 2 or 3 more of these. We'll finish up on this second side. We'll bring ourselves back to center. Alrighty, let's keep our feet wide, bend the knees a little bit, hands to hips. We're going to do the figure 8s, circling around and around. It's like an infinity symbol with our hips. So one hip comes forward, side and back, then the other hip forward, side and back, forward, side and back. Just finding that movement all throughout our lower body. Then just as soon as we get that down, we'll reverse it. Now we'll move back, side, and forward. Back, side, and forward. With each hip, one at a time. Our feet, our knees need to bend to accommodate. Keeping our hips stable. Alrighty, we'll come to center. Let's step our feet underneath us. You can keep your hands on the hips, or if you need, we're going to do some balance moves. Sometimes it helps to bring your hands out in a T shape. So you can choose. We'll lift our right knee. Try to find a balance point. It helps to focus the gaze on a drishti. And we'll circle the knee around in the air, targeting our hip joint here. It may help to keep a hand on that leg. It may help to keep a hand on a wall or the back of a chair. We'll circle it a few times in that direction, and then we'll circle the other direction. Ooh, my hip's feeling a little clunky. One more circle here, and then we'll put that foot down. Ooh, maybe shake it out a little bit. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So finding your hand position, focusing your gaze on some spot that's not moving to help with your balance. We'll lift the left knee in the air and then circle some around. It's up to you if you'd like to keep your hand there or not. Whoa, here I go. It's like a little gale wind went blowing by. Then we'll circle the other direction. One more time around. Whew, we'll put that down. And now I'd like us to do something involving a block. So let's take one or possibly 2 of our blocks, depending on your foot size. So we're going to stand on the flattest setting of a block. So if your foot can comfortably fit on a block, then just one is all you need. If you have a longer foot, you might want 2 end to end so that your toes have a landing pad as well. If you are using 2, you might want to put the seam right under the arch. It's up to you. So let's start with our left foot on the block, hands to hips or T-shape, or possibly holding on to the back of a chair for assistance. We're going to do some balance work here. So we're going to step up onto that right block. The block with our left foot, so that the right foot is now hovering. I'm going to keep my hands on my hips, I believe. I'm going to bend my left knee and bring my right foot back down to earth. Then I'll keep my hips stable, so not letting one hip slump. I will lift that right foot up again. stepping up onto the block. And then lower it back down. It's okay to point the toes, lift the heel first, and then lift the rest. The point I am hoping we focus on is our hips remaining stable. So if you feel your bony protuberances in the front of your hip bones, we want to keep those level with each other. So if you notice one is really sagging down or starts to move a bit as you lift the foot off the floor, that's what we're trying to avoid. So we might have to stabilize our hips by pulling our thighs bones in together and then trying it. We may have to hug our glutes in a little bit and then try it. And after we do it, 5, 6, 10 times, something like that. A little bit more, working on the strength on this left hip and the right as we lift and lower. Then we'll shift to the next move, which is going to be stepping up on that block with the left foot, keeping the right foot hovering and lifting that foot up a bit in front. Then bringing it back to its place, side by side with the left, and then lifting it up a bit behind us. Back to center. It helps for sure to focus on a drishti, perhaps to keep the hands out, perhaps to have the hand on a chair. We're going to swing it to the front slowly, swing it to the back, front, and back. You'll notice I'm looking down. It helps to focus the gaze down on the ground for me to keep my balance as I swing my foot forward and back, all while trying to maintain that even level of hips and the balance. After you've done that, 5 pairs or so, I'll do one more to the back. Bring it to center. We'll step that right foot down. Ooh, let's step off the block. And then let's roll around a little bit on that left foot to kind of work out those muscles. Maybe bend it forward or lift it up to the back. You can decide. Then we will begin to transition to do the same thing on the other side. So either moving your blocks or shifting your body, we're going to step up first, keeping those hips level as we lift up. And then we lower back down. We lift up, and we lower again. You can lift the heel first and then the ball of the foot and toes, or you can lift it as a flat foot, keeping it flexed. It's up to you, whatever challenge you'd like to try. Do another pair or lift and lower. And then we'll begin to transition to the other moves. So now we're stepping up. We're keeping our hips level. We're finding our balance however we do it. And then we'll lift that leg a little forward. Bring it to center. Lift it a little back. Bring it back to center. Forward. And back. Ooh, my block is squishy. Forward and back. Forward and back. I guess that's true if you had a wooden block or a cork block. This will be a firmer thing to stand on than a squishy foam block. Another pair of these. And we'll bring it to center. And we can step it on down. Alrighty. So we can set our blocks up to one side of the mat for now. We are going to begin to find our way onto our feet. No, let's not do that quite yet. Let's stretch out our calves first, and then we're going to move down to our feet. So you can do this just in the air, or you could do it with your hands on a wall. It's up to you. Hands on a wall invites the stretch further up the body, so it's the way I would recommend. If you don't have a wall handy, a countertop, the back of a couch, maybe a bed frame, or headboard, something like that, or a footboard nearby would be the thing. But if you've got a wall nearby, we're going to walk our hands up the wall. We'll keep our, let's say, left foot about 6 inches away from the wall or closer, and then we'll step back with the right foot. So it's a calf lengthening for the back of that right leg. So we're firming our heel toward the ground. Oh, I can feel it right there behind my knee, through my soleus muscle, the gastroc. And then I'll creep my fingers up as far as they can reach away from that extended back foot. Breathing and sending the breath into the back of my body. I'll feel my lower belly move in toward the spine as I exhale. Now let's keep our left hand where it's at, but we'll slide our right hand down and under as we turn to peek underneath that left arm. Another breath here. And then we'll return to center. We'll lower our hands toward our face height. Now we'll straighten the front leg. Keep the back heel grounded and see if you can bend that back knee any amount. This is a pretty intense stretch for the Achilles tendon and the soleus muscle back there. We'll just have a breath or two. It doesn't take much of a bend to really feel it on that back rear ankle. Alrighty, we'll release that. We'll step forward. We'll change to the other side. So the right foot stays 6 inches or less from the wall. Left foot takes a step back. We'll bend the front knee a bit. We'll lower the back heel toward the ground, whether it meets the ground or not. And then we'll slide our hands as far up the wall as we can, tilting our torso toward the wall. Walking those fingertips away. Sending our breath to the back of the body. We'll have another breath or two here. Then we'll plant the right hand. We'll lower the left hand down, cross it under, peek underneath that right arm. If you find that when you do, you're really squeezing your pelvis into that front thigh, see what you can do to lift from the rear legs hamstring area. It's kind of like there's a little string here pulling you back a bit, moving that left hip a little away from the wall. Now we'll return to center. We'll release our hands down. We're going to straighten the front leg. Keep the rear heel grounded. See if you can bend that back leg any amount. And you'll feel the stretch there in the Achilles area. One more breath here. And then we can release that, and we'll step out of this, and we'll return to the mats. We can leave the wall behind for a bit. We are going to have our 2 blocks at the front of the mat. I'm choosing this way as the front of my mat. We'll just set them a bit apart at the tallest setting out there in front. We'll step a little bit behind the blocks. We're going to find another Tadasana. So again, a few inches of space between your feet. We'll balance our weight over the mid arches. We'll have that energy travel up through the center of our legs, top of the thigh bones, shifting in toward each other to help stabilize our hips. We'll lift our heart center away from the belly. You might even feel your belly sort of activate and firm a bit as you do that action. Shoulders broaden and relax. We can turn our palms forward for a breath. And as we relax the hands, we'll let them hang where they'd like. We can lengthen through the back of the neck, lift the crown up to the sky. Let's inhale, circle our hands up overhead. Bring the palms together. We're going to exhale them down to the heart. We'll do that 2 more times. Breathing in as we circle and lift our hands. Breathing out as our palms come down to the heart center. We'll shift through Utkatasana, bending the knees, shifting our hips toward the wall behind us, turning us into a little zigzag. We'll keep our spine long, the back of the neck long, so that our gaze is now lowered a bit to the floor, a few feet in front of us. If you'd like to extend the arms out, this might add a little more effort. Or if you'd really want more of a challenge, lift those arms up till the biceps are near the ears, palms facing toward each other. We'll have another breath or two here. And then we'll fold forward, bringing our belly down toward our thighs. At first we can keep our knees deeply bent as we lengthen the back of the neck, letting the top of the head dangle toward the ground. And once we find our spine long, the back of the neck lengthened, then we can work at lengthening our legs any amount that doesn't cause us to compromise that length in the spine. If you find that when your legs straighten, you have to lift up or hunch the back more, I'd rather see our spine long and our legs bent. Alrighty, we'll inhale halfway up, lengthening our arms, peeking forward. And then we'll exhale, let the back of the neck lengthen, let the knees bend if they need, and fold forward. Breathing in, we'll lift up halfway. We'll do that a few more times, peeking forward. Breathing out, we'll let the back of the neck lengthen as we fold forward. A couple more times we'll do this, peeking forward, inhaling. Exhaling, folding forward. And one more time. We'll pause here, folded forward. If you'd like to fold your arms on each other, you're welcome to. Let the weight of your arms lengthen through the shoulders, through the mid-back area. And we'll breathe. Now we'll root into our feet. Let's bring our hands to our hips and we'll rise on up to standing. So far, so good. So we're going to find our way down to the ground once again. This time we'll inhale, circle our palms up. Exhale, hands to the heart center. We'll move through Utkatasana just like we did. And then we'll continue folding forward, hands to reach the blocks. Now we'll keep our left foot up by the blocks. We're going to step back with the right and lower that right knee onto the mat. If you have a hard surface floor, you might consider putting a blanket or a towel underneath that knee to soften it a bit. So from here, we can lower our hips forward toward the front foot. It's okay now if the knee goes past the ankle because it's not fully loaded with our weight. We'll have a few breaths here. If you'd like to tuck the toes behind you, you're welcome to, or you can keep that foot pointed behind you. It's up to you. If you'd like to find balance, you can raise your hands up in front of you, palms facing each other. Maybe even raise the gaze a bit, looking at the top of the wall across from you. One more breath here. And then we'll exhale our hands down. Now let's keep our front foot where it's at, but we'll walk back with our blocks, lengthen that front leg, lift the toes up toward the nose, and extend the heel away from us as we bow over our front leg. Ooh. We'll have another breath or two here. drawing those front toes back toward the nose. Let's lift up, point the toes a bit, lengthen our arms, maybe come up to our fingertips on the blocks, lift our heart center away from the belly, maybe even lift the chin a bit. And then we'll exhale, once again, fold forward, palms come to the blocks, forehead moves toward our foot as we draw our toes back toward our nose. Then we'll point the toes out, lift up, peek forward. Then we'll exhale and fold forward again. Toes pulling back. One more time, we'll inhale, peek forward. Pointing our toes out, we'll exhale, lower down. Alrighty, we'll come back to center. Now we'll bring that knee underneath us. Step our right foot forward this time. We'll walk our blocks forward as we move our hips forward. We open up the front of that left hip. We can keep our toe behind us pointed or flexed. It's up to you. If you like to find your balance, we can let our front lift up as our arms raise toward the sky, palms facing each other. Lifting from behind the heart. We'll have another breath or two here. We'll float our hands down. Woo. We'll walk our blocks back as we lengthen the front leg, folding forward. And as we bow down over this leg, we'll draw those toes back toward the nose. We'll have a breath here. We'll exhale that breath. As we inhale, we'll point the toes, lengthen the arms, lift the heart and the chin. And as we exhale, we'll fold over again, drawing the toes back toward the nose. Inhaling, lifting up, pointing. Exhaling, folding and flexing. We'll do that again. Inhaling as we peek up. And exhaling as we fold over. And we'll find our way back to center. We'll bring that knee underneath us. And there we are. So let's put our blocks back here toward the front of the mat again. We're going to get up onto our feet, but we'll keep our hands low on the blocks. So we're going to bend both of our knees. We'll stand on the right knee, or right leg. We'll lift the left foot in the air behind us. We're going to tap our right calf with our left knee. And then we'll extend that left leg out, lifting it into the air. So we're going to bend the right leg, tap the calf with the left knee, and peek forward. And then we'll look down, extend that left leg up into the air, standing splits. And we'll keep doing this a few more times. Tap, peeking forward, extending, rolling down. Tap, peeking forward, and then extending, looking down. And we'll do that one more time. Tapping, looking forward, and extending, looking down. Now we'll bring the left foot down. Let's deeply bend one knee and then the other while we dance the Watusi, where we kind of work it out a little bit. Then we'll prepare to do this on the other side. So now we have the left, both legs bent, left foot plants. We're going to lift the right foot up behind us. We'll tap the left calf with our right knee. And then we'll extend it out. We'll tap it with the knee, peek forward, extend it out, and roll down. Tap, peek forward, extend out, and look down. We'll do a couple more of these. Then we'll lower this right foot down. Let's deeply bend one knee and then the other. Oh, pretty nice. Okay, so from here, we are going to lower our weight, our squat down, bending our knees. If this is accessible for you. If it's not, you can try this just seated in a chair, or only bend as much as is acceptable for you. If you can bring your weight down toward your heels, maybe we can lower our knees toward the ground. Notice I'm using the blocks for stability. This is a big stretch for the bottom of the feet. If your knees can't quite get down to the ground, you might consider putting a block for each of them. That might make it feel more stable. Still a lot of strength and stretching here at the bottom of the feet. Wherever we get, let's make sure we feel balanced. Maybe we need another support underneath us, or if we're seated in a chair, we'll just tuck our heels under the chair. We can sit with our hands in Anjali Mudra and have 3 breaths. Big foot stretch. Alrighty, so we are going to lift our knees. I'll set my blocks back up. I'm going to lift up to standing. Planting my heels once again. My hands are on the blocks. I have a nice long spine. I'll keep my body in this angle, at this position. Maybe even come up to fingertips on the block. And then as we breathe in, I'm going to lift an arm out to the side. And as we breathe out, I'll lower it back down to the block, hopefully somewhere under the shoulder. I might have to adjust my block. So breathing in, I'll lift the opposite arm up to the side. Breathing out, it returns to the block. So inhaling, lifting. Exhaling, lowering. And if you'd like a challenge, you can try both arms. Inhaling as you lift up. Exhaling as you lower down. As I lift my arms, I can feel my shoulder blades hug in toward the spine. We'll do 2 or 3 more here. And if you'd really like a challenge, you can just lift the arms and hold it for about 3 breaths. Alrighty, we'll lower everything down. Woof, we'll bend our knees. We'll rise up to standing. Maybe wiggle it out a little bit. Feels pretty good. Okay, chair pose once again. So bending those knees, shifting the hips toward the wall behind you, turning yourself into a zigzag. We'll raise our hands out in front, palms facing each other. If this causes pinching on the mid-back, maybe fold the arms or even hug the opposite shoulder. If it feels okay, then consider lifting those arms up, biceps by the ear. We'll take 2 or 3 breaths here. See if you're rocking back onto your heels. Keep the toes evenly weighted. And then we'll rise up to standing. Okay, we're going to move through eagle pose. So we'll take a flat block. We can set the other one aside. We are going to step, let's see, we're going to step with our left foot on the right side of the block so that the block is to the left of our left foot. Okay, I'm going to put my toes about halfway up the height of the block because here's where we're going to go. We're doing an eagle pose. We use the block as a landing pad for our right leg when we cross that foot over the other. So we start by bending our knees. We can even shift our hips a little toward the wall behind us, just like chair pose. We'll shift our weight onto our left leg. We're going to peel up and cross the right foot over, hugging those thighs together, squeezing them in toward each other. Now we'll take our arms out. We're going to bring the left arm forward. We'll bend it 90 degrees. And we'll swoop that right arm underneath. Whew. Finding our eagle. It helps to focus off to the side a little bit to keep your balance. If you'd like more of a challenge, you can try lifting those right toes, tucking them around the left leg, or maybe just coming up to the very tippy toe on the block. We'll firm our forearms into each other just like our thighs are hugging. We can lift our elbows a bit and have a few breaths here. Feel those shoulder blades move away from the spine, spreading our eagle wings behind us. One more breath here. And then we'll rise up. We'll step out wide. We can step that right foot out to the side. Oof, lower it on down. Shake it on out. And we'll try that same thing on the other side. So either move your block or step to the other side. So it'll be our left leg crossing over this time. Bending both knees, shifting those hips behind. We'll shift my weight to my right leg. Lift and cross the left. Maybe find the landing pad. Hug those thighs in. The right arm comes forward. We bend it 90 degrees. Left arm swoops underneath. We bring the back of the hands toward each other. Whether they make it or not, it's up to you. It's up to you and your history of surgeries, let's see, anatomy, injuries, habits. We'll firm our forearms together. We'll lift those elbows. We'll feel our eagle wings of our shoulder blades spreading out behind us. Have the top leg hug the bottom leg just as the bottom leg is firming into the top leg. We'll have a breath or two here. And then we'll rise up. Woo. Step it out wide. Bring it on down. Shake it on out. Alrighty, let's clear our blocks out of the way. We're going to prepare for Warrior 2 here with a little bit of extra nerve work. So we're going to step or jump our feet out nice and wide. Woo. Then we'll turn our right toes toward the short side of the mat. The left toes will turn in a little bit so that the left heel is closer to the short side of the mat, the back side, than the toes are. We'll lift our arms up to T shape. If they aren't there already, palms face down. We'll turn our gaze over the back of the right hand. We'll lower that right thigh until the right knee is just about over the ankle. Warrior 2. We'll have a breath or two here. Then we'll turn the gaze back to the long side of the mat. We'll turn our palms also to face the long side of the mat. So we are going to draw our right hand toward us and our left hand back and tilt the left ear toward the left shoulder. Then we'll do the opposite. We'll tilt the right hand back, the left palm forward, and we'll tilt the right ear toward the right shoulder. So follow your breath, move back and forth. We're working on the median nerve here. So if the right palm is reaching back, so the back of the hand's moving toward the forearm, the right ear moves toward the right shoulder, left palm moves toward the forearm. Then we'll do the opposite. Tick tock, back and forth. We'll do another pair of these. I can feel some heat building in my front thigh. We'll bring our gaze to center, our palms to face down. We'll lower our hands. We'll straighten out that front leg. Turn our our toes to face the same direction. Let's turn both of our toes out 45 degrees. We're going to bend both knees and pause here for a moment. We'll interlace our fingers in front of us, turn our palms ahead. Let's turn our palms to face toward our heart and then lower those hands down toward the ground. We'll have a breath or two here. We'll lengthen both legs up. We'll raise our hands up into the air. If your shoulders aren't happy this way, just bend the elbows 90 degrees, see if they're happier. Maybe that'll accommodate. Palms are facing down at this point. We'll have one more breath. Then we can release our hands. Alrighty. Now we'll turn our left toes toward the short side of the mat. Right toes will turn in a little bit so that the heel's closer to the short side of the mat than the toes are. We'll raise our arms up to T-shaped arms. We'll turn our gaze over the back of this left hand. We'll lower that left thigh till the knee's just about over the ankle. We'll find our warrior two here. Now gaze comes to center. We'll do that same palm thing. So as the left palm moves in, right palm moves back. We tilt, let's see. We tilt to the right. Then we'll do the opposite. Back and forth. We'll have another breath or two here. A couple more pairs of these. Working on our median nerve, the one that tends to get inflamed and annoys us with carpal tunnel. Return to center, palms face down. We'll lower those hands. We'll straighten up that front leg. Again, turning both legs out 45 degrees. Oof. Let's interlace our fingers ahead of time. Turn our palms forward. Bend both knees, and now maybe raise them up. Now the palms are going to face up toward the air. Again, bend the elbows if that brings more comfort to your shoulders. We'll have a breath or two here. And we'll rise up nice and tall. Separate those hands out. And we'll turn our toes in, shimmy, step, or jump your feet together underneath you. We can dance it out a little bit. Alrighty, we have a forward fold here. I'm going to recommend having a block in front of us. We're going to do wide-legged forward fold, so setting the block in the middle of the mat, stepping nice and wide. The toes don't need to be pointed out 45 degrees because we're not going to be bending our knees so much this time. Hands come to the big hinge. We'll lift the heart center, take a breath in. Exhale, fold forward. Maybe we can reach our hands for the block. If you need a taller block, then consider a chair or a coffee table. Maybe we can let the back of the neck lengthen. Maybe we can allow the arms to bend as we fold further forward. Forehead moving toward the ground. We'll have a breath or two here. One more breath. And then we'll reach up to those big hinges at the thigh to the hips. And we'll lift up, following our elbows, following our shoulders as we rise back up to standing. Once again, step, shimmy, or jump your feet together underneath you. We're going to find our way down to the ground. Okay, as we transition on to the mat, let's come to hands and knees. So here on our hands and knees, I can't resist a cat-cow combo, so we'll breathe our way into our cat arch, dropping the head, and then we'll continue to breathe our way to our cow belly sag, chin lift, tail lift. We'll do a couple pairs of these. Oh yeah. Alrighty. So for a moment we can lift the hands, find our weight just on our knees and feet. It's up to you if you want to have your feet toes tucked behind you or toes pointed out. Whatever feels better for you is fine with me. Hands to our hips. We're going to tilt back a little bit. Ooh, you'll feel that strength right there through the front of the thighs. And then we'll return. Isn't it amazing how little we have to work when our bones are stacked underneath us? But man, you get us a little out of alignment and whew, a lot of muscles have to work at keeping us in this upright position, keeping us from collapsing. We'll do that again. And we'll lift our way up. Okay, hands forward. We're going to move through puppy dog pose. So we'll keep the hips over the knees, but we're going to walk our hands forward like in a downward facing dog. Maybe our forehead can reach for the ground. If the ground is too far, maybe a towel, blanket, or block underneath our forehead would help, so long as it doesn't cause the back of the neck to kink. So if you're putting your head on a block and it's causing your throat to open and the back of your neck to kink, that's not the move we're looking for. Instead, we want the front of the neck and the back of the neck as long as each other. Open armpits as we walk our hands forward. Nice, long, strong arms. And we pull our hips away from the shoulders to lengthen the spine, lengthen our back. And we'll have a few breaths here. Oh, that feels good. Alrighty, let's draw our hands in under the shoulders. We'll lift us up. We're going to transition over onto our backs. Let's make sure as we move onto our backs, we have at least a block handy. So let's keep our knees bent. We're going to have our feet flat on the mat. We can rest our arms at our sides. We can bend our elbows, put our hands on our torso, whatever feels good for us. We're going to lift our right leg into the air. Let's point those toes skyward and make the leg as straight as it can be. Then we'll bend the knee and draw those toes toward the kneecap. So we're going to go back and forth as we point and lengthen, and as we bend and flex that ankle. So we'll point it and we'll flex it. And if you're here thinking you could use another challenge, maybe extend it out on a 45-degree angle as you point. And then flex as the heel draws down toward the hip. Pointing and flexing. Pointing, maybe even a little lower. And flexing. We'll do 2 or 3 more pairs of these. Pointing and lengthening. Flexing, flexing. And then we'll bring that foot down to the ground. Let's let our knees both sway from side to side a bit. It might help to open the arms out toward a T shape. Just a couple times to each side. Just rolling through the hips. And we'll bring ourselves to center. We'll straighten us out. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So left foot extends up, points, lengthens, and then we'll bend and flex. So we'll point and straighten, and we'll bend and flex. You can time this with your breath. As you point and straighten, consider inhaling. And then as you bend and flex, consider exhaling. We'll do a couple more pairs of these. Inhaling as we lengthen. Exhaling as we bend. And then we can release that foot to the ground. And once again, let our knees sway over toward one side and then the other. Keep the knees moving together. So it's not like one knee moves and then the next one comes. No, we want them both to stay roughly parallel with each other. Same effort on each side as we lift them from side to side. Alrighty, knees back to center, feet on the ground. We're going to tuck our feet in by our hips, preparing for a bridge pose. So our arms can rest at our sides, palms facing up. We're going to lift our hips off the ground, lift the low back, broaden through the chest as we have a few breaths here in our own suspended bridge. Now, if you notice your knees are moving away from each other, keep them just as wide as the tops of the thigh bones, just as wide as the feet. One more breath in here. And then we'll exhale and lower down. Now we'll find our friend the block, and we're going to slide it underneath the back of our hips at whatever height we find most appropriate for us to support our bridge. So we'll lift up into bridge, and then we'll find a block setting that seems right. We'll put it right between the tailbone and the spinal column, so just the back of the sacrum is ideal. It's not as comfortable as a lazy boy per se, but it's not uncomfortable, I'd say. If it feels like it's squishing your tailbone, squishing your glutes too much, then it might be too low. If it feels like it's pinching the spine, if you can feel it on the back, then it's too high. So it's definitely from that iliac crest south. Palms face up. We're going to move the knees away from the chest, and we'll lift and broaden our chest by firming our arms, our outer shoulders in toward the ground. We'll keep our throat soft. Back of the tongue can stay wide. And we'll breathe. Maybe we're pulling the skin at the bottom of the feet, the heels, toward the hips a bit to lengthen those knees away from the hips. Now if you're here, you feel supported on that block, you can consider lifting a leg, pointing it up. We can also roll circles in the air with the toes, rolling through that ankle. Circle the other direction. And then we can do that to the other leg. So we'll gently lower that leg, that foot, lift the other, and circle. And then we'll circle the other direction. Maybe we lift both legs up. We'll have another breath or two here. And then we can bend our knees, maybe one at a time, maybe both together if we can do it without damaging the bridge. Lower those feet down onto the ground. We're going to lift the hips off the block, slide it out from under us, set it aside, lower those hips all the way down to the ground. Let's hug our knees in toward the body and rock gently from side to side. Oh yeah. Now we'll keep the legs in the air, open those arms to T-shape. We're going to let the legs lower down toward the left side of the body. moving those thighs as far from the belly as they need to be to find a comfortable landing pad. If the ground's too far away, you can always slide a block underneath the thigh. Maybe we turn our gaze the opposite direction of the knees, off to the right. We have a few breaths. Have another breath here. And we'll firm our knees in toward each other. We'll lift them together. Let's put our feet down, shift our hips over to the left an inch or two, lift the feet again, lower them down toward the right side this time, moving them as far from the belly as they need to be to find a comfortable landing pad or sliding a block underneath them. Maybe the gaze turns in the opposite direction of the knees. We'll have another breath or two here. And those knees firm in toward each other. We lift your legs up toward center. One by one, we're going to lengthen out our limbs and lay them down gently on the mat as we find our supported, our still Shavasana. I like my palms facing up or palms on the body, the belly in particular, or the heart center. I like my legs outstretched. Sometimes it helps alleviate any tension in the low back by having a cushion or a lift underneath the knees. We'll follow our breath here in our supported Shavasana. This is the time when the rubber meets the road as far as our yoga practice goes. When we turn our attention inward to the space within, to our thoughts, to our feelings, to our desires, our repulsions, to all that is within. We allow the breath to flow. We turn off that need for us to do something, and instead we just be. We allow our body to feel heavier with each exhalation. Our limbs feel heavy and dull. Our body is still and quiet. Our thoughts may be bouncing around. They may be running quick. But we don't have to do anything about them now. We're just witnessing. We're observing. Follow your breath. Follow that in-breath as it lets your heart center rise, as it lets the rib cage expand, as it lets the belly grow larger. And then follow that short transition between your in-breath and your out-breath. Continue lying in Shavasana, but pay attention to your breath. Notice that complete exhalation as it leaves the body, as you exhale fully and completely. And then again, notice that transition or pause before you invite your next breath in fresh and full. Slowly bring your awareness back to your room, back to your surroundings, and bring some movements to your fingers and toes. When you're ready, roll over to your right side. Have some long breaths as you prepare your body to sit upward. Bring yourself to a comfortably seated position. We'll take a breath or two together before we continue on with our day. Finding that comfortable spot, let's feel the next breath leave our body. We'll take a deeper than usual inhalation. And hold that breath in for just a heartbeat before you let it all go again. Completely exhaling a little more, and then pausing for 2 or 3 heartbeats before you invite your next breath in, fresh and full. We'll let our breathing return to its normal rhythm. I gently raise my gaze, and I press my palms together over my heart, and I bow to you all. Namaste. Thanks for practicing yoga with me today. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And may your nerves be soothed.